All right, we're doing it.
So we got to fight. I threw him out of the house.
He said he shot himself, and I was in complete disbelief.
Find something that'll make you smile and laugh every day.
Seeing the mother and father holding the baby.
Enter as strangers.
Welcome to the podcast. It's podcast number 17.
17.
Enter as strangers. This podcast, Eric and I decided we were going to wing it. See how
Just
it goes.
straight up wing
Shoot
it.
from the hip.
Yep.
A lot of times we try to, on our on our dual podcast here, we try to kind of come up with some topics and things like that. But we're just going to try to wing it and see how it goes. Now, full disclosure, we tried this a few days ago. And it actually, I thought, went pretty good.
Yeah, it was a good conversation.
But
Thanks.
we recorded it the wrong way. And it didn't record through the right mics, and the audio was unusable. So we had to
it's
scratch it.
Lost forever.
Yeah, so this is our Wing It podcast, where we're just going to jump around from topic to topic, see where the conversation takes us. I wanted to talk real quick about our last podcast with Adam,
Yeah. What'd you
a.k.a.
think?
Woody. I liked it. What'd you think?
I loved it. I thought it was very informative, for sure, especially on the publishing stuff. That was awesome. And,
Yeah.
not having any idea of Woody's path in life since leaving Woodbridge, essentially, all them many years ago.
Yeah.
It was cool to kind of get filled in on that story and see him again and so on. But
Yeah, in a lot of ways, because he just moved here, and, he's my best friend's little brother, so he was always around.
Right.
The whole fishing story, it was hilarious, dude.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
short. But what's cool is like the podcast is kind of it's doing almost all the things I wanted it to do. And one of those things is to have someone in that and get to know them better. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
that's the best part,
Yeah.
I think.
Is that the best part?
And there's a lot of good parts, actually.
I
Probably said that a few times about
Yeah.
different things, but
I like the feedback we get. That's
Yeah.
a great part too.
yeah, for sure.
When someone says, "I never thought of it that way," or
Yeah.
That really
Sharing
made me
perspectives.
think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not with just us, but with our guests. Primarily our guests.
Yeah, yes, for sure.
Yeah. So it was a good podcast.
No, it's good. It's
It's informative and personal.
yeah. It was cool to have, it's cheesy as it may sound, I guess, but, an author of something in here to talk
Yeah.
about the process, and someone who's in the business is pretty cool because, like we talked about there, I think it's kind of a innate human desire to write a book or
Yeah.
something. And
Well, this is a little side note to having Woody here. Woody's pretty short, and we need to have some guests that are taller.
I know.
Because all of our pictures,
I
we
know.
look like giants over all these people.
I know.
So
We'll just start-
except for Jim.
We'll just start cropping them and we'll get on our knees.
Yeah,
or
we'll
something.
just crunch down. Well, since we're kind of winging it, we were talking a little bit before the podcast, and you were saying a few things, and so I had some questions around those few things that you were saying.
Oh, okay.
So
You're taking notes when you shouldn't be taking notes.
I'm taking mental notes, and thought, I'm going to ask Eric about that. So, which I think is a good starting point is you were talking about, just everything that's going on in your life right now. You feel like you got a lot of things going on. Some of them are self-created, like you said.
Yeah.
But you're being pulled in a bunch of directions, but you're not really going anywhere. Mm-hmm. So kind of explain to me again, describe it to me.
Best way I can describe it is kind of through the brief visualization I had. And it's crazy. I'll just tell it out there. Today at work, it was like 10 o'clock, 9:30ish. Just that brain fog, that mental fog, and cloudiness was just thick. It felt thick. And I just had this idea, just this inspired thought to screw it. Got in the truck, it was a slow part of the day, and took off down 12th Street towards the canyon there. Got to the mouth of the canyon right by the Dinosaur Park, tucked all the way back up in there is a little park, a little activity park or whatever. Kind of hightailed it off into the trees there and found a little clearing to sit down and meditate for 15, 20 minutes or so, and try and just clear some of that fog away. But while I was sitting there, I just kind of had this visualization of representation of how I was feeling, and it almost looked like that sucker on the wall over there, one of our nets.
Right. I'll pack that.
Yeah, because I was looking at it from a bird's eye view, or this dot in the center,
Which is you.
which is me, with all these ropes essentially tied to my waist, pulling in all different directions. And that was, just everything mentally, emotionally through, this transition in life and career decisions and, lots of different things. And some of it self-creating, trying to put thoughts on paper and possibly, look at making a book out of it one day.
Right.
And, even to the small shit that I've committed and decided to do, try and learn the guitar and stuff, and, just all these different things.
Right.
And so they're all pulling me in these different directions, but they're all pulling equally. So I'm just kind of stuck in this middle zone.
So if you use that visual that you came up with there, because when you
Right.
said that, I was thinking about this. Like, in this case, you're not moving. So if you're looking at it from a visual, there's a center and all these different lines are pulling you different directions. In a way, you're not, I think the question is, if you picture, like, let's say the rope of job pulling you, it pulls you out of center towards it, right? Meanwhile, while you're up out of center towards it, maybe something personal pulls at you. So you're now up off of center and left, right?
Right.
And the idea of finding that balance where you're, just gyrating around center. You know what I mean? You're not too far off of center.
Sure.
Is kind of, but I think what's kind of going on is, and this is, I only say this from personal experience, okay? Because I know that stage in your life right now, the transitions that you're going through, you're intaking a lot of mindfulness kind of subjects. You're
Right.
listening to different TED Talks and you're reading books and you're kind of flooding yourself with awareness, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
This is what I think you're experiencing right now. It's when you're not in that, because there's no doubt when you take in information that's positive in nature, that is inspirational in nature, and is in your learning, it is doing something to you in your state of mind.
Right.
You're changing your state.
Right.
Right? So this transition that you're going through right now, I think you're just in this, in my opinion, you're just in this phase that's kind of like, it's the chaos that takes place as you're making that transition.
Yeah.
So this is supposed to be happening. In my opinion, it's good that you're feeling that way, because it means that you're shaking things off and you're changing your frequency.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Not. Even though it can sometimes, the cloudiness and stuff can feel bad, feel quote unquote bad.
Right.
I'm not trying to necessarily put that stigma or label completely on the whole situation, because it's all growth at the end of the day. In one direction or the other, it's growth. So
Right.
I'm totally cool with that, and just trying to, I kept forcing it, I think, is the problem, and trying to force the direction or the path to go down.
Would it be fair to say that maybe at times you're thinking too much?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of why I decided to go meditate. I think there's been too much of it. So that was kind of a decision to get back into the practice of that on a daily, make it a schedule, make it a routine, just to settle that overthinkingness and those thoughts. And
Isn't it crazy? We all do it. We all overthink things.
oh yeah,
Right.
It's a huge epidemic, really.
It is. It's an epidemic.
Honestly.
And here's the thing. It's a lot easier to see it in other people.
Oh, way easier.
You know what I'm saying? But also to be aware of the fact of when you see it in other people and go, oh, that's what's going on there. Like it kind of surprises me sometimes. A little while back, I was talking with a friend of mine, and they were like, feeling a certain way about something, and they were pretty sure about how they were feeling, about the subject, but they started to think and just think themselves in and out of it, and go, what am I doing? Or no, I really, okay, no, I got it. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a great character.
Well, it's like the whole pros and cons list, you
Right,
know? It's
right.
the exact same thing.
But if you get out of your own way, always trust your feeling.
Right.
Always trust your instinct. Your first instinct.
Yeah, I don't know about feeling, but
Okay,
instinct,
your first instinct is the right one.
usually.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good distinction. Don't always
Yeah.
trust your feeling, maybe, but yeah, I mean that first instinct you have is usually the right one.
Yeah, it's like we've all done it, even on the small stuff in like
Money.
money, or just deciding to go do something that you have a little fear towards, bungee jumping.
Yeah.
You know, you commit to it. Yeah, it feels right, and then you
talk yourself out
you
of
start
it.
talking yourself out of it slowly, and
Yeah.
then small mind kicks over.
That
and,
goes back to maybe Adam's podcast a little bit. It's like fear of success.
yeah, for sure,
You know,
for sure.
for me,
Or discovery.
It's like it's so hard to do, and I've learned this lesson so many times. You know, for a long time, you know, stints of my life, career wise, being, you know, a graphic designer and trying to do it freelance, full time, or working at, you know, maybe not the greatest job or whatever it is, and you do things on the side, but like when you need money, right? There's been so many times that I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I need to, you know, I need an extra $100 for X, Y, or Z. Like
Right.
stress. And the second I just let it go, I've had very powerful things. Like the
Right.
second I let it go, all of a sudden,
Boom.
like literally sounds like that, buy this water and a check will show up in your mailbox, but literally the next day a check shows up, or literally the phone. I remember one time I was so stressed out about money, and I finally went, I can't do anything about it, just keep working or whatever. And literally as soon as I felt better, I'm not shitting you, within a minute the phone rings, you know, and it's someone I know and they need something done and it's good money and it's going to be quick, you know.
Yeah,
That's happened to me
for sure.
a bunch of times.
Those are cool experiences.
But every time,
You begin the stress pattern.
yeah, you do it over, and all you can hope for is that you get it sooner, that you
Right.
put yourself through less.
Right.
But yeah, the fact that I've learned that lesson, I'm like, I'll go, okay, no, I get it. I got it. I see. I know how it works.
Yeah.
But then next time around, a year later or whatever, I'm like,
Dude,
Damn it.
that's that subconscious programming, dude. That's crazy.
but it's also a blessing in a way, because it shows you that it's a practice. It
It
shows you that
does.
you have to continue to work at
It's
things.
like anything in life. You know, it takes the dark to know the light.
Right.
You know, you got to have the opposite polarity
Right.
in the same aspect.
Yeah.
I just had this thought as
Yeah.
I was sitting here and we're talking, and I'm thinking about what you're saying. I'm thinking about what I had said, about a conversation we had outside, and so on. And maybe you prescribe to this or not. I've always because I was thinking about emotions
Okay.
and you know, even stress is an emotion. You know, all the emotions. And I always used to kind of categorize, you know, always say there was only two emotions, and, you know, love and fear. Which I think there's some truth to. But I was just thinking about it. Somehow in my mind, it makes more sense that those two emotions are acceptance and resistance.
Yeah, I mean, everything is acceptance and resistance. And I'm flipping through my little old school notebook here, because I think I even have a diagram for that. But it is essentially. But those aren't emotions, which is the key to what you're saying.
They are emotions.
I guess they can be emotions, but I think they're emotions and they're something greater.
Because if you're stressed, which is an emotion, or you're worried, which is an emotion, or you're anxious, which is an emotion, you're in resistance to something. Therefore, resistance is the emotion.
Right. Okay, fine. But if you were saying those two base emotions, but like in the Mandala of Being, a book by Richard Moss, we talked about it before, the core emotions and everything falls in the spectrum, the 4 Fs. Do you remember the 4 Fs?
Oh,
These are
yeah.
these are 4 evolutionary core primal emotions that we have.
Flight,
Yeah.
fear, and fuck.
Yeah.
Is that what they are?
He's got them as fight, feed,
Feed. That's right.
fuck, and fear. Right? Procreation, love. That, it's just a catchy way to make all that. But it really is. Like, anger is just a sub emotion of fear. Your
Right.
primal thing is fear.
Right.
When you are angry on some level. So, but I think acceptance and, what was it? Acceptance and resistance? Yeah. That's the positive and the negative in a way,
Yep.
which in and of itself is balanced too, which
Sure.
is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, am I getting your point?
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Because
you're
you
getting
can't
it.
associate emotions to those two things.
Yeah. You get it.
Yeah. Getting out of your own way, dude. It's huge. It's huge.
It's. Yeah.
It's hard.
It's crazy. It sounds simple. That's what's weird about it. It's like we were talking earlier, in finding your calling, quote unquote, or your purpose.
Yeah, but
And
it doesn't just sound simple. It can be simple. There's things you do that come second nature to you that fall in the line of those kinds of things that you do without thinking.
that's only if your subconscious is programmed to it.
Yeah, but I'm saying
Like-
you've got to take the good with the bad.
Well, sure.
There's good things that are second nature to you.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Give me one. Come on.
Well, I mean, this may be a little bit out there, but it's like, take it really literal, right? Like, how do you feel about litter? How do you feel about you're driving down the road, you got a little crumpled piece of paper or something? Do you toss it out your window?
No, I won't toss it out my window.
Right?
No.
But how often do you see people toss the craziest shit out their windows?
Oh.
Cans, cups.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I see them on the side of the road. I just kind of think, oh, maybe that just flew out of the back of a
Dude,
pickup
I've
truck
seen
bed or
people
something.
just, when I see someone litter, it drives me nuts, right?
Yeah, but are you stopping to pick up that piece of litter
Nah.
either?
No.
See, so
But what I'm saying is that there are a bunch of people out there that don't give that a second thought. That don't give a second thought to throwing something out the window.
sure.
Now, this is all
That's
perspective.
because you were raised that way and it's in your subconscious to think that way.
I know. I'm just saying that's an example of something that's good.
Right. Okay.
To my perspective,
Okay.
I guess.
Gotcha.
That there's certain things about you that you do or don't do because you're conditioned to do or don't
Oh,
do.
yeah, I mean,
which just shows you were
morals
conditioned.
and-
You can condition yourself to keep going. Like to what you're saying, those things that are
Reprogramming.
reprogram yourself.
Yeah. I heard something kind of interesting. Besides the factual thing that we talked about, where your subconscious
Right.
essentially controls
Percentage. And
95 to 97% of your daily
Actions.
actions and
Yeah.
thoughts and whatever. And the subconscious doesn't differentiate between good or bad. It just programs what you tell it to program, essentially, or what society, parents, teachers,
Right.
conditionings have told it
social
to program.
constructs.
And it's
yeah.
really all about repetition, really, is what really solidifies it.
ritual.
Ritual,
Yep.
which is what you can neuroplasticity and stuff. Our minds are moldable, our brains are moldable.
Well, that's what I'm saying. When you're taking in all this information that's positive in
Right.
nature,
Yeah.
it's having an actual biological
For sure.
effect on you.
And I agree.
Now, it's not a long-lasting biological effect. Nothing is.
No,
You can
it'll
continually
change again.
change.
It'll change again. But I heard a gentleman say that it takes on average, not on average, well, probably average. We'll go with average. Your subconscious, like, give me a number between 1 and 10.
Out loud? Mm-hmm. Okay, 4.
Okay. Supposedly, the smart people say that your subconscious mind knew 7 seconds prior to your conscious mind of what your number was going to be
You mean before you even
Before.
asked?
before your mind. And yes, essentially, that's what they say. If you were reading a question or whatever, pick a number between 1 and 10. That 1, 2, 3,
Right.
7 seconds.
4 seconds.
Right. No, you pick the number 4.
Oh,
But
right.
on average, it takes 7, or it's your subconscious mind has already pre-selected essentially what the answer, or knew what the answer is going to be 7 seconds before
Oh, okay.
your conscious mind did,
Okay. That's crazy.
which is a buttload of time.
If that's
7
true,
seconds,
then our perception of time is weird.
for sure. It's on.
7 seconds.
That's what they say, dude, or that's what this gentleman said. You know, he's the smart guy and the scientist and the researcher.
Okay,
and all
so
this.
but you're saying if I draw a picture on this notepad and I flip it around to you and I say first thing you think of, you know, let's say I draw a dog, okay, and I flip it, boom, your eyes get it, you go dog within a second.
I don't know, man.
Is he saying it takes 7 seconds before you saw that dog, you knew you were going to say dog?
I think it's more along the lines of a decision, when a decision is being made.
I can see that.
What's your favorite color? And you sit there and think about it for a minute. What's your favorite, on the page is.
Right.
And it's not the typical red, blue, green.
Right.
It's all these hues and so on. You got to look and make a decision of what.
So what's he saying about this?
I don't know. Because it's all over the top of my head in a way. But I just took it and used it and put it in practice in a different way that I had a conversation with someone recently.
Yeah.
And I was just allowing them to speak.
Right.
It was their turn to speak. I was trying to listen intently and so on. And I felt emotion, irritation, whatever you want to call it, start to formulate. Yeah. And it got to a point in the conversation, it was my turn to speak, and there was things that the ego, the small mind, whatever, wanted to just blurt out. The subconscious, my normal things just wanted to go directly to.
Yeah. And
I went, no. So I sat there and went 1, 2, 3, and counted to 7 seconds in my mind. And then decided to start so long that the other person's like, you still there? I'm like, yeah, no, sorry.
Yeah.
See, I'm
counting.
I'm counting. Hang on.
Well, that's like count to 10 when you're angry.
Right.
That's like, that's watching The Thinker, right?
Yeah, it is. That's all it is, essentially, yes. But it put it into a good practicality.
Yeah, that's a great
situation
practical way. Even get to 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then go, okay, now what are you thinking?
Right.
In a way.
Right. Yeah, and you know what's funny? If you can do that, if there's a certain trigger you have from someone else or a thing or whatever, and you can count that 7 and you can resist that instinctual response, that one time you do it, for every time you do it, dude, it's very releasing.
Yeah.
You are really reprogramming yourself, or you're on the way. It's not like you do, you can, if you continue to do that, then that time frame will get shorter and shorter and shorter.
I think so.
Which is like we talked about with watching The Thinker.
Yeah. It was just pretty cool talk, and to think the whole idea of the subconscious mind.
Yeah.
And the programs it's running constantly.
Yeah, like the why you do things.
Constantly. And that's why, having done a little more quote unquote research on this, not research, but paying attention and
you've been going deep into the subconscious.
Not that I was ever a skeptic of it, but having, a little bit more information.
You have more understanding.
Definitely have more understanding, and
makes a difference?
I think it makes a difference, but I can see how those quit smoking tapes that you listen to at night, cliche things, type of things will work because it is that repetition. Yeah. They can work. Absolutely.
So, speaking of those things, like the subconscious and like what drives you, you were talking about something a minute ago, and I made a little note here because I think the best way to we always end up doing it anyway, but on the podcast here, when we're talking about stuff like this, the best way to convey it is to give a personal anecdote. You know what I mean? Instead of talking in arbitrary terms and stuff. But that preconditioned way of thinking for me, like recently over the last 4 or 5 days or whatever, got some stuff going on, some decisions to make, a lot of the same shit you're talking about, right?
Right.
And it's not necessarily, I'm not viewing anything as a positive situation. Certain things have come up and I've got to make decisions about this or that. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I'm resisting, to put it in your terms. Okay.
Right.
I'm resisting the change, but I'm forced to be making some decisions. And there's a part of me that is sitting here going, okay, I got to take action. I got to do something. But there's another part of me that's going, it's not time to do something. Mm-hmm. Just wait, and like part of me goes, am I just not wanting to deal with this? So I'm putting it off. But I have this weird thing sometimes where we talked about it before the podcast, where sometimes you can sense a change coming, right?
Right.
For the positive.
Right.
And you can feel a buildup of energy. Okay. And I kind of get a sense of that, but I have this stupid thing where it's like, I feel like I got to go deeper into the feeling bad before I can rise up through the ashes like
The
a phoenix. Right? Doesn't that, that's crazy,
there's
right?
Not necessarily.
But
there's
that's got to be
to
something
the-
subconscious about that, where I'm like, nope, I'm not rock bottom enough in my emotions about
I don't know,
this.
maybe just go with it. I mean, if that's the thought and that's the
telling you.
instinct, then go with it, because
It's
like
not-
you said, first it's your instinct, and B,
It's
everything.
It's more than an instinct. I tell myself, nope, just feel it. Feel worse about it. Yeah, like it's almost.
I think it's doing multiple things for you, from feeling it. Just feeling it to let it, so
Right.
you can let it go. You let it flow, let it go type of an idea.
Right.
But also, in this life we know is, we just talked about it, polarities. It's a balance game. And, the further down that roller coaster goes, the further it's going to come back up, and the higher it's going to come up.
Yeah, the more that balance of, people, a lot of people who are really successful had really shitty.
I always, for whatever reason, when I think of this story or think of this idea, it always comes down to rappers, because a lot of rappers have really terrible upbringings and terrible low
or
stories.
basketball players.
That
I mean,
too,
athletes, right?
Athletes for sure.
And it's not that if you have a shitty childhood, it's guaranteed you're gonna, be successful.
Yeah.
But it's like the amount of low you have that potential for. If there's a middle line of average life, and you're way below average, you have the potential in your situation to create a situation. It's equal energy.
It's
Dude.
a universe balancing itself out.
So what you're saying is maybe what I'm feeling is like just a micro version of that.
Right. Yeah.
It's just a micro version of,
So maybe the deeper you go, maybe the higher you climb.
yeah, for that situation.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe not though. Or not.
Or not. I've been doing a lot of that lately.
Or not.
Spouting off something to somebody and then being like, or I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. It could be none of those things. So anyway, but yeah, I just kind of find that interesting, because I would associate that down to the same thing. It's just that there's something in my subconscious that wants to take me through that process, because it's instinctual. It's not like, well, should I do this or should I do that? It's just
Right.
instinctual to go further down,
Right.
and I don't know why.
That is a program or whatever.
You don't relate to that,
No.
okay?
I think we talked about this before. Like,
on a real sick level, I'm not gonna say sick level, but on a real low level, it's like I equate it to like when you go through a really bad breakup, right? And some days are better than others,
right.
which sucks. So when you're in the shit of it and you have a better day, it's like a roller coaster. I'd rather stay down until I'm really ready to come up than to kind of come up and then crash back down again, and then come up and crash back down again, which is part of the growth process. But I want to just stay low.
Well, I guess, wish we had a interactive whiteboard here for people to see, but either way, it's going to balance out.
No, I know.
Either way, it's going to balance out. You're right. You stay low for so long, you're going to have a pretty sharp climb up.
Yeah.
But it ain't staying there either.
No, of course not.
It's coming back down.
Well, on a particular subject matter or situation.
So you're like these big peaks and valleys, but only every now and again.
No.
Versus these short peaks and valleys, but smaller.
Yeah, but I'm talking like a broken heart, right?
Sure.
You can roller coaster a broken heart and you'll elevate, time heals all things, or you can stay down, and then just skyrocket up. No more broken heart. Now eventually your heart will get broken again,
Right.
That's probably a bad analogy. It's a broken heart, but yeah. Well, and that's like
I get what you're saying though, ultimately.
yeah. Yeah, it's a weird thing. And you don't relate to that process.
No, I don't think so. I mean, no, I don't relate to it.
That's what's also really cool and interesting is people. It's like it kind of surprised me when we had Brody in here on our first podcast, and we were talking about being in prison, and I said a question, and I'm like, because I've thought about what I would do in prison in this situation, and you said you have, and I think my response back to you was you haven't, right?
Right.
Like the thoughts we have that we just assume everybody has. Right?
Yeah,
Like,
preconceived notions.
I would
again.
assume everyone, well, I'm sure a lot of people do, but it really surprised me that you've never sat there and thought, how well would you do in prison? What would you do? How would you interact? Could you do it or whatever? That surprised me when you said you never really had that thought before.
I said that? Mm-hmm. All right.
Why have you?
Must be true.
It must be true.
Must be true then.
Well, tell me this. Because I was talking to someone the other day and this really weird topic came up, but when I was a kid, I don't remember how old, but just doing stuff around the house, brushing my teeth, doing stuff. I used to pretend or wonder and pretend that it was like the Truman Show. And this is before obviously I'd seen the Truman Show. But there was a short period of time where I just went, my life is being broadcast. There's hidden cameras everywhere. And I remember the bathroom was always, because I'm in there by myself, and I always thought, how funny, there's a camera behind the mirror, and I probably saw like a Twilight Zone or something like that. But I had that thought, and the person I was talking to said, when I was young, I used to think like there were cameras watching me, and thought about how, did you ever have that? Did you ever think that when you were younger?
I'd have to pull out of the vault, but instinctually I have to say no.
All the time I used to go, people are watching me right now, and I'm making my bed or doing whatever.
I think I got a mental disability or something.
You might. In your memory?
Yeah.
Nah, it's just so weird.
Like, I've got a great memory. Always have had a great memory for information and things and numbers and yada, 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 and events and stuff. But, like, thinking back to my childhood and stuff, I remember doing things, but I don't remember
A psychiatrist might say that you're...
things I were thinking necessarily
blocking
or
things.
thoughts I had about a particular, anything.
Well, memory's weird that way, right? Because it's so flawed. And I remember when I heard this, actually not too long ago, I'm like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense, which is basically this. And it's why witness testimonies are pointless.
Right.
It's why you can plant false memories during hypnosis. But basically this, if you go through, and there's 2 points to this, right? If you feel a certain way about something in your past and you remember it a certain way, that's real. That's truth, right? But let's say your brother or your sister goes, no, that's not what happened at all, right? If they're 100% accurate and you don't remember it that way, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Mm-hmm. What you remember is the reality.
Right.
That being said, right, having every time you recall a memory, you add to it. Okay. So let's say something happened to you when you were a kid that was negative. Okay. And let's say as a 15-year-old, you're recounting it. Something that happened to you as 10.
Did we talk about this or am I having deja vu?
I think we talked about it in our throwaway podcast a little bit.
Maybe that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah. But basically every time you have a memory, you add to it. Okay.
Right.
So if I'm recounting a story, I might get emotional and feel fear or anxiety about the story I'm telling you. Because now I remember, right? Now, if I tell the story 10 years later, I might remember that anxiety again when maybe it wasn't there at the moment of the event.
Right.
You can, in retelling a story or recalling a memory, you can add emotion to it.
Yeah, and you can add emotion. We all, as humans, tend to fluff the story, if you will.
Right, and you
fluff it each time.
We did talk about this, where you lie so much that you don't know if it was.
Yeah, no, we did talk about that. Not that you lie so much, but
yeah, that you just, like when you're a kid, like, oh, blah blah blah, this happened, this happened.
Yeah,
and then you're like, did that happen?
Or you told your parents that this whole event went down a way different way or something, and so you're pretty sure that's the way it went down after you told yourself enough times. That's the way it went down. That's the program.
That's the program
we're talking about.
Yeah, we did talk about that.
That's funny.
There you go, everybody. We in our throwaway podcast, we've come back to a couple of the topics we've touched on. Memory, because I had asked you about what's the youngest memory you have?
Oh yeah, that's right.
And you brought up the whole being in California at our
I meant to ask
great-uncle's
Mom
house.
about that, see if she could give me an idea how old I was,
Being
because
in
I had to be
floaties.
pretty young.
Wouldn't it be cool if you could just like
Go there?
go there or for sure know what your earliest memory is?
Yeah.
Like that, is that really your earliest memory?
I think as of right now, yes, that is the earliest thing I can remember in life.
When people used to ask me that, I've had people ask me that question before, and I would always give the same answer. And this is an example of telling the same thing. I'm not even 100% sure, and I think I debunked myself, but I had this memory of having this little plastic tractor thing that you rode. It was real narrow, had a little steering
Like a
wheel.
pedal bike thing?
Yeah, no, just like you, as a little kid, you just sit on it and you push with your feet. One of those.
Oh,
kind,
right,
okay?
right.
And it was red and yellow, little tractor thing. And I thought at one point when someone asked me what's your earliest memory, I'm like, it's that. That's the youngest I remember being.
And how old do you think you were?
I have no idea. When I'm identifying this as my youngest memory, if I had to guess, I'd say 5 or something like that. And I've told that for years. And then a few years ago, I was going through some old pictures Mom had at her house, and I seen a picture of me on that thing. And
Really?
and Mom and Dad were sitting on some steps or something. That picture was super familiar. I might be totally bastardizing what the picture was, but the picture, I went, oh, I've seen this before. So the question is, when I was younger, I saw this picture. Is my earliest memory just coming from a photo?
Highly possible.
Right? How
Highly
many
possible.
times do you look through old photos and go, then years later you go, oh, I remember when we were all sitting on this bench, and you're like, no, there's a picture of exactly that. That's probably where the memory came from.
It's highly possible. But maybe the picture is what solidified the actual story in your mind when you were young before the picture was taken.
Yeah, no, that's what I don't know. Memory's the joke.
Yeah.
That's why you can't spend too much time. I don't know. It's that whole thing of like deep trauma that we run away from and causes problems in our life from our past. Mm-hmm. The chaos you're creating by not facing it is way more detrimental, exhausting, time-consuming than if you just turn and face that.
Yep.
And work through it. It's way, way easier.
Face your dragon.
To face conquer your dragon.
Recognition first. Recognize.
Oh
the
yeah,
dragon.
so he talked about 4 basic steps
Right.
to conquering your dragon, and I love this. So you got them?
I got them. First one is recognition.
Okay.
Second one was gather your tools.
Gather your tools, whatever they are.
Third one was make a plan.
Okay.
And the last one is take action.
Take action. Yeah, I dug that. Real simple.
Yeah, it is
I mean, that's
Well, it is a children's book, but still,
still applies.
us adults love simple too.
It made me seriously go, okay, I'm going to pick something that's a dragon.
Right.
And I'm going to just do that.
And did you do that yet?
Nope.
You should get on that.
Yeah, man.
Put it into practice, which is the hardest part.
I really do, because like I've just hit me
Just now?
just now, like, dude, I'm just so afraid of change. Mm-hmm. And I have all these what I feel are real valid excuses or reasons, but
Right.
really they're excuses. You know what I mean?
We all got them. Don't worry.
I'm not worried.
That's part of the inner turmoil I've faced with myself the last few days. A huge part of it is that knowing better. You know, like we talked
It's
about.
the worst sometimes.
It's far worse.
When
It's
you know
knowing
better.
better. Going, you're doing this shit, but you know better. Stop, or not necessarily stop, because that's just more resistance. But I don't know. It can have its day for sure.
Yeah.
And it does.
When
Oh,
you-
mangy bastard.
I know. Well, when you know better. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's easy to get down on yourself when you know better. Mm-hmm. Which is kind of a silly thing to say, but yeah, I mean, fear of change.
Like anything, we're each own our toughest critics.
Yeah, well, that's 100% true. I would think, I mean, I have found in life,
Yeah,
we're our own worst critics.
Yeah.
That's definitely something that's
pretty common.
accurate for sure. I don't know. I think that it's all an interesting process. What's cool about it in a way is to be able to have a moment of clarity or a moment of not anxiety or whatever, like this right here, and kind of look at it through that lens, through the different perspectives and different lenses, and talk about it with somebody and kind of like, because the conversation, that's the other thing too. Like a lot of times that 4 steps of conquering your dragon, what a big one is, I guarantee, is that take action so many times is communicating with somebody, is talking.
That full circles around to what you're talking about earlier in a way, and not necessarily digging out all the skeletons in your closet, but having honest talk and communication about it.
Yeah.
About any of it, about this, especially if you can do that with your intimate partner on a consistent level, I think they wouldn't be, I don't know, those problems would melt away. It's because I agree with you.
This is going to sound pretty egoic in a way, but like if you
disclaimer,
if you're a male or a female in that relationship and you do that and you open yourself up to that criticism, but you speak your truth, essentially. I hate terms like that, but speak your truth. Then you're in a better position.
For yourself.
For yourself. But I'm saying that even in the dynamics of the relationship, you're putting yourself on a little bit higher ground. And that can be a good thing, because then you can grab the other person and bring them up to you. But you know what I'm saying? Now you can't. No, you can't. Well, sometimes in little steps. I know people are probably like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? But it makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Especially I'm not saying like you want to have something to hold over your partner. No. What I'm saying is that you're better for your partner in being vulnerable. It goes back to that vulnerable thing.
And acceptance. Yeah, absolutely. That's a lesson.
Yeah,
for sure.
Another way of putting that is especially in moments, in instances, is try to take the high ground. For yourself, not necessarily.
Your conditioning sometimes and shit makes it hard. Those instinctual reactions and cognitive reactions to things.
Dude, let me tell you.
That's the 7 seconds, dude. Start counting to 7. Okay,
maybe that's it. That seems forever, but
it is.
I tell you what,
you might need it.
I know that, like, because of what's going on, I know that I'm like short. I know that I'm quick to react. I know it. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I remember getting in the car yesterday morning or something like that, and I'm driving somewhere, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go from A to B. It's not that far. I'm not going to get frustrated at traffic or whatever. I'm going to just practice a little bit of a meditate. I'm going to drive from here. I'm going to practice a little bit of, what the hell, asshole? Like I tell myself that I'm going to just, and then as soon as something happens, I'm like, ah, and then I'm like, God damn, man. I just told myself not to do that.
You find the gratitude in it, and the gratitude,
it's
I guess.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, it is, because I do it too all the time, going, dude, that was stupid.
Yeah.
You didn't react that way or say that. But there's the gratitude. At least you can recognize it.
Yeah.
Even if it's a minute later or whatever it is, at least you can recognize it.
Yeah.
Which means you are reprogramming.
Well, and even on those simple things, like you're saying, is you're being honest with yourself. Mm-hmm. Just be honest with yourself in those little moments too. Like sometimes it's, when you be honest with yourself and you sit in that emotion or whatever it is, and you deal with it, you feel it.
Right.
You don't fool yourself and lie to yourself and say, okay, I'm okay. I just need to do that. Sometimes you need to just go, okay, well, let me just feel this for a minute. Let me just feel this for a day. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that's where like having a good cry comes from.
Sure. I think you need it.
That release.
Yeah.
So it's okay to feel crappy.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think it's, again, polarities. You need to feel crappy.
I think I interrupted you. Were going to say something?
I don't know. You're talking again. I had a tangent thought about taking off from work for a minute and going and meditating.
Yeah. That's a pretty big move.
It was needed. It was awesome. It was great. All the noises and the birds and the yada yada around. It was good. It's real good. Do it every day.
You do it every day?
I'm going to.
Are you really?
I've been trying to lately, but I haven't actually made it a scheduled thing, and I think that's been my problem. You know, I think it's like Adam said with the writing. Schedule time to write. Don't just whenever you get
Yeah.
a chance, you know, because you don't ever commit to something like that.
Yeah.
Schedule it. So I'm going to schedule it and see how that goes. But
Ritual.
Right.
Rituals will change you.
Right.
See, that's simple.
Just behavior patterns and ritual patterns. And supposedly scientists say it only takes 21 times of doing something before it becomes a habit. I don't know if I prescribe
And then,
completely
but
to
one
that.
day of not doing it to break the habit?
Oh, is that what they say?
Yeah, which I've always not agreed with.
Well, then it's not a habit. After 21 days.
Yeah.
If you break it.
I guess that's what I...
I don't know. Anyways, my point was, or originally back to the meditation thing, coming back. So, I mean, I can't fully articulate to you what I'm feeling, of course, being my perspective, but just the cloudiness, the fogginess, all that went there. And not that it all evaporated and disappeared and was this big aha moment or anything, but besides the visualization I had from the ropes and so on, I noticed, and I just now noticed it, which is weird. But looking through the day, I noticed things were better for the day, you know, mentally for myself. But I noticed when I returned to the store, I slowed down.
Yeah.
I get to that state where my steps are slower. My emotions are slower. Everything is slower for me. And it's... I don't know if it necessarily makes it more manageable is the right word or not, but it's an amazing practice, I think, too, and it felt great.
I totally get what you're saying, because for me, it's the smallest things. Being like angst filled and just kind of worrying about stuff, it has an energy about it, a shaky, nervous energy. And so I'm at home and I was making some dinner for Layla and I, right? And that shaky, nervous, gotta get it done. And I just went, whoa. And then I just like, dude, just relax, enjoy cutting the potatoes, you know?
Right.
Just nice and slow down. It helps.
I think
to
it
slow
does.
down.
That's kind of been the biggest issue, especially the last couple of mornings.
Just what, chaotic?
Anxiety, I would describe it as.
I tell you what, man, because you were just talking about, you know, patterns, rituals, setting aside the time. You know, done a long time ago, did it for a long time, and then got away from it, and then got back to it. Which this reminds me of something else I'll tell you in a minute, but you know, doing yoga in the morning.
Right.
I know I'm not like going to a studio, not doing an hour and a half of hot yoga. I'm waking up in the morning and I'm rolling out a mat, right? And I'm throwing on YouTube on the tablet and I'm following along to some YouTube video. And getting into doing that, right? Like there's this one thing, it's a good starter point. Every time I stop and get back, it's, you know, 30 days of yoga. So it's 30 days you go through shit, right?
Right.
And I try to do it every single day. And at first sometimes it's difficult. You wake up in the morning and you're like, oh my gosh, but it is weird. It's like I'll wake up just as tired or groggy, didn't sleep well or whatever. And the thought of, I don't know if I feel like doing yoga comes up in my head. And in the beginning, it would come up in my head and I might take 15 minutes before I got over on the mat. But ultimately I do it. But now I'll have the thought still. I don't know. I could skip today.
Right.
But then I just go get over on the mat. Still
Right.
half asleep, whatever, right? It's like that whole idea of putting your feet on the floor. And my day goes so much better when I take whatever it is, sometimes, 20 minutes to 45 minutes and do the thing. And then I always have a ritual of just kind of sitting there when I'm done, closing my eyes and just kind of breathing deeply, call it meditating, whatever, 10 minutes or something like that. And then just get up and kind of get going and stuff,
Right. Yeah.
So the ritual, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Be a big benefit.
And I don't know. I mean, again, it's, everyone's different and whatnot. But when you're close to people and you see them going through stuff and stuff that works for you, but I get it. It's difficult. It's hard. I was going to say, this is what's funny.
Well, that's the everybody's path thing, I guess, again. Mount Fuji.
Everybody's path to Mount Fuji, which I was going to talk about. But the other, does this happen to you? So, like, a while back, I stopped. I had a real soda problem. A couple 44 ounces a day.
Oh, yeah.
A year ago
I'm
or something
with
like
you.
that,
Yeah.
right? And I stopped. And I stopped for a long time and didn't have soda. Wouldn't really touch anything but water. I mean, sometimes I'd maybe grab a orange juice, which is just pure sugar anyway.
Which is what Mountain Dew is just orange juice concentrate.
Is it really?
Number one ingredient.
Oh, I didn't know that. You're going to tip. There you go. But when I'm feeling down or anxious or whatever, and I've, got a fridge full of sodas, that are just sitting there because there was a good deal on them, I'm just like, I shouldn't be drinking this soda. But I've kind of got this like, oh, fuck it. If I'm going down, I might as well go down and eat like crap and drink a bunch of soda. But that affects my day-to-day thing.
It does.
If I drink a soda or two a day.
It completely does.
Yeah.
In those moments of chaos, though, you almost have to pick and choose your battles.
That's why I do the yoga. Feeling like shit.
Right.
And part of my brain goes, dude, you don't need to do yoga.
Yeah.
You don't need to get up and earlier and do it because you're going through something right now and it's okay to take a break.
Right.
But I just say no. If nothing else today, I'm going to do this.
But on the flip side, you'll have the soda.
Exactly.
And that's okay too.
Yeah.
Because you'll get back to a point where you won't again.
Yeah.
But you got enough.
That's how I always feel.
You got enough on your plate. Pick the big battles, or pick the battles that'll make the biggest difference to begin with, and that soda can wait.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a good point, man. That's a really good point.
And that's kind of where the realization I came to today is being pulled these directions. Well, pick the direction. Make the decision to pick a direction that's gonna, not necessarily be the easiest right away, but will make the biggest difference. And the rest can,
You do something. I think that's really important, dude. That's like great advice. And it could be a bunch of little things, or it could maybe be some bigger things. Mm-hmm. It's like, I know people are probably sick of hearing it, but it's like starting this podcast, right? Thought about doing a podcast for a long time, but was always like, just like everything else in life.
Start talking yourself out of it.
And you gotta talk yourself out of it. And it wasn't until you said, let's do a podcast. And I was like, yep, I'm in. Let's do it. You know what I'm saying? But what's weird is like, give yourself something. It doesn't have to be a podcast. It can be whatever it is. Write something, music, whatever. If you're a musician, give yourself something. Give yourself a project. Because I'm telling you what, I mean, we get some cool people in here so far. And then you and I sit like this and ramble on forever. But I'm telling you, legit, if this podcast wasn't going on, I'd be way more stressed out. Because it gives me somewhere to focus energy, whether it be negative or positive is irrelevant. It's just a place to focus energy. It gives me something to look forward to a little bit.
It gives you an outlet.
An outlet. That's the word.
I mean, I think that's why, therapy is still around, even though I don't honestly believe traditional therapy to solve anything.
I may disagree with that, but
that's okay.
That's okay.
You're welcome to.
You're welcome too.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I just totally brain farted on it, but
no, you were saying that, give yourself an outlet.
Oh yeah, and then the outlet for sure. I think that's what we go back to talking. Even if you're just talking with your partner, even though it may be an issue, maybe after you talk about it, it's no longer an issue. Or, you know, just being able to have that outlet with a friend or a different perspective change again.
You know those relationship arguments you have that get way too intense?
Yeah.
The ones that are like tears and maybe even name calling. You know what I mean? The ones that are bad. Or maybe not the really bad ones, but like Lex and I used to experience this a lot. After a fight, right? And then you're worn down, you kind of come back. It's to the point of it's just kind of surrender.
Yeah.
You still might be mad. I feel great. I
do
feel
too.
great afterwards. But Lexi never did. She would carry and stay mad.
And I don't mean to make it.
So everyone's different, is what I'm saying.
And I don't mean to make this sound bad, so I do apologize. But I think it's a male female difference.
Is that women carry it longer?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty well known. I think most of them will tell you they carry that crap around. You know, they latch onto it and store it.
Well, it's a weird thing, and
Store that shit.
I don't know. Okay, I don't know. I'm winking at Eric right now. I don't know if that's true, but you know, if it's all that way, because I've only had
Right, our experience base is
fairly
relatively
limited.
small.
Yeah, fairly limited. So maybe there's a woman out
But
there.
you've heard enough stories and read enough shit.
Eric, you're digging yourself a hole, bro.
With who?
Oh, good point.
Right?
Good point. With nobody.
Nobody.
There's a bunch of women listening right now going, "You're an asshole." No, but here's the thing that
I think that's just the truth.
Okay.
And I think
okay.
I think they need to accept it too. How about that?
Let me get to my point here.
Go ahead.
Because this is going to confirm what you're saying. Not confirm it, but really, like, because I've been asked, or she would ask me, I don't understand how you're not still mad.
Yeah,
or you're
I
not
got
still
that one a lot.
upset about
I
it.
got
And
that
I'd be
one a
like,
lot.
I feel great because I got it out. But this is the thing.
Yep.
You don't have, there's no rule saying that you have to stay mad after a fight. You can choose to just be like, screw it.
Right.
And we weren't talking about this on mic, but that's what I was talking to you off mic about, is that you don't have to do certain things just because we think we're supposed to do them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's a social norm or
Right. Let me ask you this, because I know you have a direct experience with this.
ask away.
Relationship. Okay? Relationship. Quick question. You give me your answer, which you're going to know 7 seconds ahead of time. Okay? Marriage. You're married, your age couple, okay? Not mom and dad. Just take your perspective of life. Quick response. Married couple. Is it okay for the husband or wife to have friends of the opposite sex?
Sure.
But have you always felt that way?
No.
Right. That's an example, because a logical, reasonable person would tell you that there's nothing wrong with a man having a friend who's female and vice versa. Right?
No.
But a lot of social constructs tell us, no. I guarantee you line up 10 people, a bunch are going to be like, no, that's not okay. Or there's going to be a lot of gray area.
This is fresh
Yeah, for you.
for me.
That's why I brought it up.
And it's just one of those hard truths, and it's about being honest and vulnerable with yourself again and allowing growth to happen. No, I definitely never felt that way up until quite recently.
So it wasn't okay.
Not that it wasn't okay.
That
There
always-
was it was situational okay. And I don't mean to make that like sound too arbitrary or ruly, but like the idea of, well, never mind. We'll just get past that. But
We just cliffhanged a bunch of our listeners.
I did, and I'm sorry, but no, I do, honestly think it's fine, because it was always my insecurities. It was always my
exactly.
shit.
That says more about you normally than it does about the other person.
Absolutely.
Because here's the thing, if you break down the semantics of it, okay, especially if it's somebody that was pre-existed your relationship as a couple.
Sure.
In this scenario, if if there's going to be an issue, there's going to be an issue whether you're aware of the friend
Or not.
or not.
Yeah, no.
The fact that it's in plain sight or it's not is the fact that it's in plain sight is going to be irrelevant.
right.
That's a reflect. That's just a mirror.
That's just the cold hard reality of it.
Right.
Or truth to it.
So, in the theme of the night, how do you recommend somebody gives their truth on that? Because you have fresh experience in this, right? So
to themselves?
yeah, no, your wife comes to you and says, or you go to your wife and you say, no, I've been friends with her forever. She's like, I don't want you talking to her, right? Do you stop talking to her, or do you say, listen, you either, I mean, maybe this is a bad example of putting into practice this truth thing, because there is such thing as about compromise for, the
I
other
think
person.
well, and that's it, the other person has to be willing to accept the truth. Now flip the role real quick, and I go to her and say,
Right.
no, I don't
can't
want
be
you
friends.
talking to this person anymore.
Well, and there's no doubt there's that double standard in relationships.
Well, of course there is, but just for the sake of what your question is, I can answer it from my side, not hers, because the truth has to lie in her side, not my side. If she's asking me to stop, that's her truth or that's her thing.
Gotcha.
So I can answer it from my side and my
Gotcha.
perspective. And she said no or whatever,
Right.
and I said, you gotta stop talking, my truth. That's now I have ownership of that because that's on me because of my conditioning, my insecurity,
Right.
and my, and owning the truth then from that perspective is the only way. Does that make sense?
That makes a ton of sense.
Am I there with you?
I'm there
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Okay. Yeah. So see, but you didn't always feel that way.
No, no.
Okay. So
And it'll still be a practice, no doubt.
Let's continue to analyze this then. Is that, in your opinion, right? Because this is what I have a really hard time with. In your opinion, your perspective that you used to have and your perspective now, even though it may seem it's still a practice or whatever, is that an elevated way to think? And maybe elevated is the wrong word. Is that a more aware way to think about it?
I think it's a healthier way to think about
Okay,
it.
I like that best. Is that a healthier way to think about it?
Yeah,
Healthiest for you,
for me.
which in turn affects the people around you,
Yep.
right?
I had this thought process today, actually, in writing down some notes and so on paper. But the idea of selfishness and the social stigma that kind of surrounds that word.
I'm all over this, bro. Keep going. Keep going. I just had this conversation with somebody.
Did you?
I guarantee if you're going where I think you're going.
And the idea of selfishness, that it's this negative word in a way that it, you're not caring about others, that you're, only doing shit for yourself and yada yada. And there is an extreme to that for sure. It's a balance thing again, like everything else. But we
Yeah.
should all be a little bit more selfish, in my opinion.
Yeah. So here's where
And- Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say where I was gonna go with that, and people probably hear some pages flipping is you've got to find the balance between selfishness and selflessness.
Right.
You got to find the balance between that, because here's the thing: I don't trust someone who's totally selfless
Right.
on the appearance level, right? Like, there's times when you need to lean more to being selfish. Because I've noticed this with people. I'm guilty of it too. When you're going through shit, or you're, I don't know, maybe you've done something that you shouldn't have done, or you've wronged somebody a certain way, or you're living your life in a certain way, it's way easier to take the attention off yourself by being selfless.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Like, it's the idea of someone that's got a severe addiction, and then they know someone else with a severe addiction. They'll sit and put a ton of attention into helping the person because I understand how you feel and I can help you get through this. All and that's not a pot calling the kettle black, but what they're really doing is they're just taking the attention away from themselves. That's what we do.
Right.
So being selfless too much, you got to be careful, because a lot of times being selfless is you're taking attention away from yourself, which means you're really being selfish.
Right.
So it's a
double.
I keep going on these rants like this, dude, off your beautiful, simple,
Nope, it's okay.
Your things.
I don't know. I mean, it reminds me of that video I showed you of, Adam Roa in that poem.
Oh, yeah, that poem. Right.
And
Yeah.
not selfishness in the materialistic viewpoint of it. Oh, I'm going to keep this for myself, type thing.
No, but do for you.
But do for you, because you can only do for you, first of all. At the very base truth of it all, you can't force anyone to do anything or see anything. Do it for yourself, which then in turn gives them permission, hopefully, to do the same and allows the space for it. And I think it's like the whole, and I'm guilty of this too, or have been in the past for sure. Especially when it comes to relationships, this idea of filling each other's cup, and I know he mentions it in that poem. Putting that much pressure on somebody, on a partner,
Right.
to fill your cup, and it could be a 5-gallon cup. Who knows? How deep that cup goes.
When you say putting that pressure on your partner to fill your cup. You're talking about everything from like looking to your partner for validation,
right,
all that stuff.
Yep, exactly.
Posing questions that are unconsciously or consciously geared to get a certain response, so that makes you feel better about yourself, stuff like that.
I mean, that could go to a business relationship.
No, it's any
child
relationship.
Yeah,
Any relationship.
We want that person to validate, complete or define us,
Right.
in a way.
Which is a slippery slope.
That's way slippery, and it's ultimately, inevitably going to lead to disappointment.
Well, and here's the other thing too. It's not just about, giving or doing something because you want to change the other person, or you want them to be the change that you are, which is a little bit of what you were saying, I think. But it's also like, if you're always doing for others without expecting anything in return or giving them permission or any of that stuff, you can give too much of yourself. You can, and all of a sudden you don't know who you are.
You've lost a little bit.
You've lost a little bit.
No.
Yeah.
I agree. I'm on definitely both sides.
Yeah.
I've had perspective from both sides of that, but and the selfishness I was kind of referring to is being selfish enough to do for you, like you said.
Right.
And I heard this thing the other day that made a lot of sense, and it's really simple but picture it. Since you're born, your physical form grows.
Okay.
Pretty much automatically.
Right.
Pretty much automatically, your hands get bigger, your head gets bigger, your feet get bigger, your body gets bigger, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So on and so forth. Without any conscious thought on your any intent
right. No,
from you.
It's programming.
I think we tend to view the psychological form in the same manner. We expect it to grow automatically, and it doesn't. It doesn't. You have to have the intent for the grow and do the work to grow.
Now, it can grow through experiences that you didn't plan for, or you know what I mean?
Right.
But
that still ain't happening automatically. You still got to go through the experience.
No, right. But here's the thing. Why is it so much easier for... You're right. So why is it so much easier for the negative to program you than it is the positive? Because it does grow into the negative.
Because think about it. I know we've probably talked about it before, but first of all, negativity, something negative, it's a much more... it's a much stronger feeling.
Well, you're wired for negativity.
Right.
That's what we talked about before.
Right. And that was the second point. But I think negativity is a much stronger emotion, first of all. It takes emotion and information to create a memory.
Right.
And the stronger that emotion, the deeper and tighter that memory is going to be. In my opinion, I feel
Right.
at least, and negativities. We tend to experience those things much more strongly, and they last, and those things imprint. Versus where something very beautiful and very positive, in the moment is wonderful and great and a great emotion, but your mind doesn't store it like it stored those negative things. It's
And
the old
that's-
5-to-1 ratio.
Yeah. There's an evolutionary reason for that,
Right.
which we
And-
don't need anymore.
No.
But that's so true. I had a boss tell me one time that people will always remember the negative of something you did
Yep.
over the positive.
Easy. I mean,
You
it's
can
been
do-
my experience
he's
for
like,
years.
you could do 5 positive things and then screw up once,
Yep.
and that's what people will remember.
That's the old 5-to-1 ratio.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That it takes 5.
And it may not be that they don't remember the good.
No,
they-
they remember it.
But the instant it's like, this. Everyone does this.
It
Think
goes-
of someone in your past
it
you
goes-
don't like.
It goes back to the same thing we were talking about earlier, where I might have offended some people. Is
You mean women?
right?
Okay.
Is because that
Some people.
that emotion was so strong and stored as a memory. That's why. I mean, I think it's a pretty normal thing. I think a lot will admit it again that you do that, and I've heard tons of people,
It's
tons of
because
women
they're
tell me
It's because they're smarter, dude.
but they'll they may have put it aside or whatever, but the moment you do something that triggers that trigger in memory, it all comes flooding back, and and it's all just is fresh and just as new. Mm-hmm. It's stored.
It's fresh, and it's probably been added to
Oh, sure, yeah.
the second time around.
By in the third and the fourth and the
Right.
fifth and so on
Yeah.
and so forth. But
And it's something everybody does with certain things.
yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah. Okay, good. I just hope you were saying
But
it wasn't just women.
and it's just the idea of negative emotions being that much stronger.
Yeah, so you got to work harder.
Survival. We're all trying to survive, apparently.
No, it's true. We're trying to survive. That's why
We're trying to
all
survive.
that subconscious stuff we've learned.
Financially, relationships, we're trying to survive
Oh my gosh.
everything.
Yeah. That's why socially that's why movements to go get rid of fossil fuels isn't further along. That's why certain things
Oh, yeah.
there aren't a lot of change in. Is because we're inundated with trying to survive on the small scale. That's why it's important to be your best self. That's the only way to invoke change is if enough people are just authentic to themselves. Whether it's seminars like impact training, and we've known a few people that have gone through impact training, and it's a very powerful thing. From the outside, it sounds a little cultish, and it sounds a little like, some really weird stuff. But
Right.
what they're doing there is creating an energy and an emotion and stuff that has extreme power to it.
Sure.
And because they force you to be authentic, right? Mm-hmm. And you got all those authentic people together, and then some really amazing things can happen.
And fully energized and
Yeah.
for sure.
So that just goes to my theory that you got to take care of yourself and be selfish when need be. Mm-hmm. So is that you're leaning to the selfish side of the level right now?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? There's big swings.
Hold on, give me my 7 seconds.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to articulate because it's that balance in it all. But
Yeah, but I think someone would argue that where you're at right now and what you've gone through and been going through, this is the exact time that you would lean more to the selfish side of the scale.
right, I'm being selfish.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah, that's it. Let's end it.
Spit it out.
I'm being selfish in the fact that I'm doing my best to be me, honestly me. And sometimes that's offending people. And that's where the selfishness lies, not in, fuck you, I don't want to hang out with you anymore because you don't bring me anything good to my life.
Right.
Or anything like that. What? It looks like you're perplexed over there.
Well, you just said something that's like,
Perry the platypus spit
you
it
said
out.
you're being selfish to Can you say what you said again?
Probably not. It's all in the now, so it
Okay.
all comes and it goes. I'm being selfish. I don't know what I said, but for me,
Right.
in a way. And I know that sounds
I think that's
crazy
the
as hell,
definition
right?
of selfish.
Exactly. But I'm being selfish for the betterment
Of yourself.
myself, and of
And the
others.
people around you.
Yes.
So, okay, that's exactly my point, okay? I know you are probably experiencing this or have. I know that I have. And it's one of those things you go through in phases. But when you're in a mode like that and you're trying to improve yourself, it's really easy for people to go, that guy's a selfish asshole.
Sure. Yeah.
When really what they're doing is going to ultimately be a good thing. If you're really being honest about the ways you're being selfish.
Right.
Right? Because selfish is just a word. It can work or not work.
Yeah.
You can be really selfish. I say really selfish, but you can be selfish and it's a really bad, not a thing that works for you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then you can be selfish and it really works for you and the people around you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting.
I can agree. And that's why I was having a hard time kind of describing it in a way, but
Yeah. We just need
yeah, I don't know.
we just need to be each other's signers, sign languagers, right?
Okay.
So it's like, because every time I've noticed tonight, every time I'm like, it's kind of like, you're like, well, but, and then on the flip, I feel like it's way easier for me to diagnose what
Right.
you're trying to say.
Right.
And it's way easier for you to diagnose what I'm trying to say,
Right.
which is interesting.
Yeah.
And what is the difference? This is actually a great little point. The difference is the emotion.
Right.
The reason you're having a time articulating is you're trying to do it around you have all this emotion tied to it, so it's hard to articulate. Mm-hmm. Same here, right? I'm like, or I'm a little bit nervous of how it's going to sound because there's emotion there, right? There's
Right.
Shame or whatever it is. But having emotion, that's why it's hard to look at things objectively when you have emotion, or try to describe a lot of things when you have a lot of emotion. Like, you've ever
Yes.
been really, really upset, like maybe crying upset or just before that, and you're trying to explain to somebody,
All the time.
and it's extremely hard to get through the story.
Yeah.
And people are like, just spit it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the same reason why it's almost impossible to explain a psychedelic experience.
True.
Because there's so much emotion involved in that.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Can be, yeah.
Can be. Mm-hmm. But.
Or not.
Or not. Maybe or not.
Choice is yours.
Yeah.
Choice is yours.
Yeah. Like, I was tripping on this. And tell me what you think. I've always had this thing where it's like religions, right? It's the easiest one to go to. Oh, if you live like this, you go to heaven. If you live like this, you won't, right?
Right.
And I'm always like, nobody knows for sure. So how is one person's opinion of it any more valid than another opinion of it? They're equally valid. That's always the stopper for me, is like, no, my truth is just as valid as your truth, right?
Yeah.
On most things.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of like, when something happens to us or something happens to someone else, right? And we're like looking for answers to it. Okay, like, I don't know, what's an example of this? Okay, let's say like your grandma dies. Okay, you're close with your grandma dies. And you're like, you're hurt, you're feeling pain, you don't know what happens when you die, you don't know if her soul's still out there or not. So you start asking people what they think, right? What do you think? What do you think? Everybody gives you a little bit different answer. Hopefully, everyone gives you a little different answer. My answer to that is this, because it makes the most sense from a quantum physics kind of level, a quantum mechanics level. If you ever find yourself questioning what is it, is there a God? The best solution is it's whatever you think it is, because more than likely, it seems more pliable to me that all of your creation is up in here. It's your perspective. That's why when it comes to psychics and it comes to mediums and it comes to paranormal stuff, there's all this different, very intriguing evidence that some is similar and some is different. It's all true,
It's-
because it's all just these fabrications of the virtual reality of what we're doing.
It's your level of belief and your mindset matters.
Right. So if you want to believe,
It's your belief system.
if you want to believe that your grandma is in a place called heaven, then guess what? She's in a place called heaven, and it's just like you picture it. You don't need anyone else's truth. Just choose the adventure that feels best to you. That's just as valid as someone else going, theologically speaking, right? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Like, for me, dude, that's like pretty powerful.
Well, and that goes back to the same. Well, whatever you give attention creates your reality.
Yeah. Listen,
it is.
okay, people, like, real talk for a second here.
Oh boy.
This blew my mind when I heard it, and it makes so much sense, and I think it's a reality check for us, okay? If you look at virtual reality, if anyone out there, I mean, most of us have by now, you put the little headset on that's got someone's phone in it, and it's a roller coaster ride. And it's pretty, and some of them are pretty like, oh my gosh, lose your balance, whatever. Then there's a step up from that, like the HTC Vive, right? Which got cameras in a room, it maps out your environment, and you're doing stuff. We've come so far with virtual reality, okay? And in the next 15 to 20 years, virtual reality is going to be so intense that you're not going to be able to tell the difference. And inevitably, you'll jack into it like the Matrix.
Right.
And you will not be, except for the conscious knowledge that you're hooked up to something, biophysically, you're not going to be able to tell the difference, okay? So point one, our technology is advancing to the point, inevitably, where you're not going to be able to tell the difference between reality and a virtual reality, okay? Now, with that being the case, that we're showing that is a truism, statistically speaking, what we're experiencing in our life is, statistically speaking, it's more probable that what you're experiencing is a simulation.
Right.
It is a computer programming running. And the idea that when you die, your eyes are going to open and you're going to be sitting in a chair, and that'll have been 1 hour of your life, and you chose your adventure, and I lived a life of Eric Spencer. All the pain, all the hurt, all the knowledge. Think about artificial intelligence and how quick you can have all these experiences, right? It's more, the probability is more likely
No, I don't
that's what's going on.
I don't disagree with what you're saying necessarily. It's just one of those topics like, how big's the universe? That is just so inconceivable.
The only reason
blows your
it
mind.
matters is because I like to think, and that's why the reason that works for me, if this is a simulation, that's why you see all these anomalies that happen, law of attraction. You can affect your environment because the simulation is so real. It's you're creating it yourself, essentially. You're creating your own reality. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people believe that you create your own reality.
for
All
sure.
the shit we're talking about is about creating your own reality.
sure.
That's why, to me, I mean, you listen to Elon Musk on Rogan's podcast, and he was basically implying that, he's pretty sure this is a simulation.
He's a smart dude.
Yeah.
He's a smart dude.
So all I'm saying is that when you're facing an existential crisis and you're like, how is it? What should it be? I don't know how to deal with this. Just make it what you want. What do you want it to be? Because that's just as real as what anyone else is going to tell you it is.
It's
No?
if it were that easy, sure.
Or not.
Or not. If it were that easy, for sure. But it ain't that easy.
That's the name of this podcast,
or
dude.
not.
Or not. Yeah.
Like, because on that quantum mechanics, quantum physics level, it all originates up here, but there's a bunch of shit originating up there that you have to control and get those wavelengths to match, to draw that into your reality. And therein lies the bitch part that we don't have a grasp on. Now, if I could sit at a computer real quick, like a virtual reality, someone go, I'm going to choose this option, and this option, and this option. Okay, upload.
Yeah.
Then great.
But your brain is that computer.
It is.
It's just doing that. You just don't have to type on it.
It's just got viruses and shit in it.
Viruses of the mind.
Yep. And I don't know. I agree with this to an extent, but I don't on another extent, because the idea that your brain or your mind is a supercomputer,
Yeah.
and again, back to what we talked about earlier, your subconscious is the programming. is the software of that computer.
Yeah.
And what programs is it running? What are you telling it to run?
Right.
But on the same level, it is plastic. It is flexible. It is neuroplasticity where you can change it.
Yeah. Because you're jacked into a machine.
Whatever, man.
That's always the ultimate answer you can come to. No, a more elegant way to put this that I like, and I think maybe we've touched on this before, is you are just, I like this theory. It's my current theory. I'm going to talk to me in a few years, probably different, but my current theory is this. You are the universe having the experience of Eric Spencer. So metaphorically speaking, the energy that is you, the part of the universe that you as the universe, that segment of you that's a piece of it, is just looking through a pair of virtual reality goggles for a brief moment in time and experiencing life as Eric Spencer. Just like the oak tree is a piece of energy from the universe experiencing life as an oak tree. We're learning, the universe is becoming aware of itself. The cat, the dog, they're all just pieces of energy having that experience. Right? And to me, that explains a lot of this crossover of mysticism and connection and past life. And, that's another way to put it.
Yeah.
And even if you don't believe that, try it. Try this. If you're struggling with something or you're having a rough day, or there's an instance, even if it's on the freeway and someone pisses you off, just think about it like that. Go, oh, wait, this is just an experience I'm having, because that's what we do as an energy. I don't know. Now I'm going down a rabbit hole, but you get what I'm saying. Too deep? Is this too deep?
No.
For the Wing It podcast?
Way to wing it.
What else you got? Any pertinent information?
Yes.
Let's hear it. Give me your final thought.
Jeremy has syphilis, so...
Not true.
Just kidding.
Not true.
No. I mean, there's always more information.
Why'd you choose syphilis?
I don't know. It's the first word that popped in my
gonorrhea
head.
would have been better.
Syphilis.
Syphilis.
It's a cooler
Sounds
word.
good.
It's a cooler word.
Chlamydia.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, final thought, Eric, go.
You coming skydiving?
If you're buying, I'm flying.
Good answer.
Dude, I'm
Good answer.
scared. I don't know why.
Because
You gonna
should
do
be.
it?
Yeah. I just made the decision.
All right, so I know Dustin listens to our podcast, so a little personal note
Dustin's
here.
coming too.
Yeah, so if Bill's doing it, I'm doing it. Okay? But didn't he ask you if I was doing it?
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
Yeah.
If Bill's doing it, I'm doing it. That's your final thought?
Yeah.
With the podcast?
Yeah, because challenge your belief systems.
Challenge laid down. My final thought?
That's a good thought. We can end there.
You like that? It's a thought, guys. Come on. It's just a thought. Oh, I'm supposed to say it out loud. My final thought, I was just trying to figure out the best way to put this. Don't change who you are. Be yourself.
Accept who you are.
Accept
Don't
who you are.
resist
Be
who you are.
vulnerable. That's my message. Be vulnerable.
Yep.
Right?
Always.
Be vulnerable at the risk of people not understanding. It's a way better way to live. Agreed?
Oh, fully agreed. I think everyone should practice vulnerability.
Yeah.
Open yourself up.
Just try it. Try it little steps.
Yep.
And that's my final thought of the day.
Well, there you have it.
Or not.
Or not.
Thanks, guys.